I had some experiences where I was literally threatened with a client. The client was older, but I was threatened. He was like, if you don't get this up and running, I'm literally going to shoot you. Like physically, I have a gun in my office. I'm going to shoot you. So what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Hartzog Hustle podcast. I'm your host, Anthony. Our goal is to help 9-to-5ers create more impact, influence, and income outside their jobs. And today is no different. I am with an amazing entrepreneur, and I'll give you guys a little bit of business background. He's been in the business of building virtual call centers since 2014. Before that, he was also a fellow cleaning business owner. And right now, we call him the call center cash king, Don Spann. What's going on, Don?
Not much. Good to be out here in Dallas.
Yes.
And very beautiful home you have here. Happy to be in the home studio.
No, I appreciate you because you just flew in today, and I know you got family and you got some traveling to do. So definitely appreciate you taking time out your day just to give our audience a little bit of background about you, but then also helping us learn about the call center industry and how to change our mindsets from just 9-to-5s and learning how to be successful entrepreneurs. So I want to start with, where did you start before you became the call center king, where did you start before that?
All right, well, first off, I don't consider myself to be a call center king. But what got me into this industry was I was, running a cleaning company called Companion Maids in Chicago.
Okay.
And after about a year, we were sick of answering the phones ourselves. And a different company, a software startup I had with a buddy of mine, at one point we looked into answering solutions and didn't pull the trigger on it. But, I had some familiarity with the existence of that type of service. And so, that was in the back of my mind. So I looked into some options. No options really stood out to me. And then, the entrepreneurial brain starts turning gears. So I figured, the business model seems easy enough. Maybe I can take a shot at it.
Yeah.
And so I called up one guy named David. He was too busy. He's always too busy. And I called up a second guy named Micah, 10-minute conversation he was in. And so that was in October 2014. January 1st, we launched Vicky Virtual, which had a focus of being cleaning business owners serving other cleaning businesses.
Yeah.
So that was our entry and went from there.
So you started the virtual call center in 2014 because you started the cleaning business. You saw a need there.
Yeah.
Before the cleaning business, how'd you even get into the cleaning business? Because I want to go back as far as possible. So how'd you get into the cleaning business?
Honestly, ever since I was a little boy, I wanted to do something. I was fortunate enough to go to a expensive private school growing up, but my family couldn't afford it. I was on scholarship, financial aid, but I grew up around a bunch of people, a bunch of kids, my friends that were they had tremendous wealth and lifestyles, and I knew there was no way that I would have a chance of living like that or having the freedom financially in a traditional job, or at least I didn't think so. So I got to start something. Trying just anything I could from literally 19 years old or before that. So long story short, I failed for 8 years, working different jobs, sales management. Finally got something going with a buddy of mine from high school. It was a company called Rentobo. We were a venture-funded Y Combinator software company for the rental management market, so rental relationship management. The premise of the tool, briefly, was we were one of the first to enable someone like you, with just, I don't know how many units you have now, but we serve people with as little as one property and enabled them to do the entire process online. It just didn't really exist there at that time, except for on the enterprise level. So we did that. After about a year, I got to the point, and I was responsible for user acquisition. After about a year, we got to the point where I didn't have to do much for a while. So I had my equity, and I just decided I wanted to work on something.
So you got bored.
Something else, yeah. I wanted to do something else. But, I was still with Rentobo, but concurrently stumbled on Reddit and I saw like this random comment on a thread on entrepreneurship, the entrepreneurship subreddit. And the comment basically said like, oh man, that reminds me of that guy that started posting on Reddit when he was making $4,000 a month and continued to post until he was at $200,000 a month.
Yep.
And for some reason, this doesn't happen that often, but he like hyperlinked in his text a link to the Entrepreneur Ride Along subreddit, which was Rohan Gil's subreddit.
Yep.
I was like, click, found out it was a black dude. Oh snap! 3 weeks later, I launched Companion Mates.
So you went from working. So what year were you working with that property management company?
So the software we started working on that, we were the Y Combinator class of spring 2011.
So this is 2011. Before right now, everyone has a property management app that you could log on. They got Rently, they got Guestio, Profolio. There's tons of different apps that do this. This is 2011, before any of that.
Yeah, the enterprise ones existed, but we had one competitor, which was Cozy.co.
Cozy is a big one.
Yeah. And we did end up getting acquired in 2016.
Okay.
Had about 17,000 users. But yeah, we were early. We didn't, I think we were the least successful of the ones that had any success. But yeah, we were trying to do it.
So you were trying to figure out what you wanted to do before you even got to that point of starting the virtual services and you getting to that enterprise company. But you said you knew that your friends were achieving levels of wealth. You knew that they had businesses. Were you surrounded by people who were doing that? Was it just the neighborhood that you were in? Was it just the school system that you were in? You just saw it.
It was the school system. None of my generation friends had businesses.
Yeah.
But their parents did. So, tremendous wealth. There were 10 billionaire families at the school.
That you saw on a daily basis?
Yeah, any of my high school friends, a lot of them have a large inheritance coming. So, it's a lot. But again, I knew that I didn't have any type of sort of windfall waiting.
That was coming for you in a couple years.
Yeah, no.
I got to figure this out.
Yeah. So, I went to Wisconsin-Madison. I dropped out because I was like, I got to work on this and get something going as soon as I could. So essentially that time period of the Rentobo cleaning company, eventually Vicky Virtual, and honestly a lot of other projects we won't talk about, I was throwing darts at the wall. I was like, I'm learning how to start businesses successfully and with some type of confidence and just knowing how to start something. Like now I don't really need much counsel to start something.
Yeah.
Right? But I was learning that, and it was very exciting because it's like, man, I've been trying to do this for 10 years. It felt like some magic bridge that I may or may not ever cross. It felt like Never Neverland. So once I guess sort of cracked the code on it, I was just starting everything I could.
No, it seems like that. Like, I love your trajectory because you said that you started at this job and you saw the beauty in entrepreneurship, that you saw that you were a part of building something and then you got bored. I have that problem. Like right now I'm at the point where, even at my 9 to 5, I got so good at the job where that wasn't my business, but my team felt like it was like my own little business. I was so good. My team was good. I wasn't doing anything. I was collecting the money and I got bored. So once I got bored, I started fidgeting with other things. Obviously the cleaning business was a big one, but I was trying to pay off debt. So how do you kind of manage that boredom feeling at the job or even in business where you figure out, all right, I'm not bored anymore. I really want to build something. Because that's a struggle that I'm going through, or that I go through often.
So you're saying once you have a certain level of comfort, how do
without feeling that boredom or trying to do the next thing? Because like a lot of entrepreneurs, especially starting level entrepreneurs, they get scatterbrained. It's like, I want to do this, I want to do that. How do you manage that? Or at least try to manage it?
Yeah. So I think there's an element of time. There's an element of experience that are both factors. in my case, again, I was throwing darts at the wall and seeing what stuck. And in trying different things in different industries, thankfully, I had one consistent focus, which was services.
Okay.
So software as a service, we had the cleaning company, call centers, I had a painting company, I had a review management company, I had a virtual assistant company, which I think you still have Ziggy. And there was some other project, but so I learned that I had I was steadfast in that I wanted to stick with services. And then the second component was I had certain personal sort of notches or I guess milestones I wanted to achieve. And each project, I don't even call them businesses now, I think of them more like projects. Each project is sort of a means or a vehicle to achieve that milestone. And so for me, the cleaning business is fantastic in terms of being able to get something going, especially if you have a full-time job, being able to quit and move on and do that. But I knew that, launching in a different city sort of feels like launching another company.
Yeah.
Right? You got the branding power and experience. But so the call center thing, it sort of edged out all the other projects I was working on at the time because, the ceiling was a lot higher. The scalability factor was there. And I was very excited about that. And so now with my newer project, it's had the potential to be a legacy level project. So things that I feel the potential won't really have an effect on my life, those things don't excite me. Again, I think the things that will be a vehicle to propel me to the next level are the things that excite me.
So I definitely want to recap that. So some of the things that you mentioned, especially for beginning entrepreneurs. So you said you started with throwing a bunch of darts at the wall. You saw what stuck, but then you saw what could get you to that next level. So you knew the cleaning business had a ceiling. So it's okay to start with something that just gets you to that level. But you said, I needed something that had a higher ceiling to get to. And then now you're focused on more legacy plays. So thinking back to when you started, you left. Did you leave the cleaning business? You didn't leave the cleaning business. You sold it, right?
Sold it, yeah.
Okay, how do you, because this is for me now. This is definitely for me now. So I want to know, so you started your cleaning business, and how long did you have it for?
We got our first cleaning job. I mean, we launched.
Yep. The official launch date.
Launch day was when we got our first booking. So our first booking, I'm going to guess, was very late November. Just before Thanksgiving of 2013.
2013. So that's when you launched.
And we sold in March 2017.
Okay.
So that was the second exit. So the software company was May 2016. April, May. It took time for it to close. How that cleaning business exit happened was one of my virtual receptionist company, Vicky Virtual Clients. Actually, I love this story. So part of the way we grew Vicky Virtual in the beginning, because I started off with a partner and I bought them out in 2016, was we had a pre-launch list and I would cold call it. I didn't know what else to do. But I knew that businesses in general, small businesses, a lot of them need the phone to be answered, and we just needed to be the solution that they would inevitably use.
Okay.
So my very first cold call, my first dial, I reached this guy. Oh, okay. So I can't say his name, but I reached a guy, and they had a rather large cleaning company in New York, and they became a client. They were our largest client. Even when I sold the company in terms of total lifetime value revenue, they were in the top 10.
Okay.
Out of over 1,300, actually over 2,000 clients that we served, they were in the top 10. And also, they were the buyer. So they were in New York. They wanted to expand into Chicago. And they're like, hey, Don, you still got the cleaning company in Chicago? Yeah. How much revenue are you doing? We were around, we were a $500,000 run rate. send over some screenshots, we'll talk numbers. Coincidentally, my dad and I always wanted a company with my dad. He was like doing operation for the cleaning company. We were like, theoretically, if we sold, we would sell for this much. And the offer came in 10% higher than that. No. The offer came in exactly what we thought we would sell for.
Okay.
And then we countered 20% higher, and they said yes. And so that was unsolicited, and we closed it in like 3 weeks.
How do you know what to price? Because this is literally for me now. So how do you know what to sell it for? How do you know to put a price tag on it?
Well, at the time it was sort of early in terms of people selling. So, now we have a lot more data on different sales. In our case, it was 3 times our profit.
Okay.
So, pretty simple.
Is that like an industry norm, or you just said?
I don't know.
Okay. I mean, that's fine. I was just curious.
What I will say is that I've seen people list their company for higher. Okay. And I can't remember any being sold.
Okay.
I've certainly seen a lot sell below that. I think the highest exit that I'm aware of was about 4.5 times profit.
Okay.
But when you're selling anything in general, one of the 2 large components, one, how many hours do the new owners have to, how much labor is required to operate when they take over? 2, what type of defensibility does the company have, like their SEO ranking, the reviews. If they in local services, if there's a tremendous amount of reviews, you can't really replicate that by starting off something new, and it's really difficult to try to catch up and fight that battle in terms of SEO.
Yeah.
So at the time, we were ranking like top 3 in Chicago for Chicago cleaning. So those were great indicators. The other thing is trajectory. So, from day one, we were basically doubling every year. And so because of that, not hockey stick, but trajectory.
Close to it.
I mean, a decent...
I just learned that term last year, to the hockey stick growth.
The hockey stick, yeah. If you got a Wayne Gretzky looking chart, then it's very sellable. So yeah, trajectory, you just have momentum is a huge selling point. And then the other thing is that the larger the company gets, the better the multiple get, because you, especially in the 7-figure territory, you start attracting, depending on the company, you start attracting institutionals.
Okay.
And so the institutionals are willing to put more money at it. They're willing to pay larger multiple. They're more sophisticated in terms of being able to throw bodies at it.
Institutionals are like banks or larger corporations,
like private equity firms. Nowadays, especially in today's market, it's becoming more like sometimes family offices. Yep. It's tough for people to make a return right now, but they want to put their money into something.
Got it.
And so, anything that is outside of an individual investor, I think, would be considered institutional. Okay. Even like, an accredited investor is not an institutional investor. So yeah, once you're in the 7-figure territory, at least definitely in revenue, but certainly maybe at least in terms of valuation, then again, the multiple go up.
If y'all see me smiling, y'all know why. This is all good information. Obviously, this is for me because we're at that level. We're 5 years into the business. That I don't want to say it's hockey stick, but year over year we've doubled in revenue. Except COVID, that really put us back a little bit, but we jumped back right after that in 2021. So thinking about, all right, what's the next steps? So your next step was to sell and focus. I know you can't say the number, what you sold it for. Can you give us a range of what you sold it for?
What, the cleaning company?
Yeah.
$200,000.
Okay, so you sell it for $200,000. And do you move that money into, how do you manage that? So you get is it like one check you get, or is it checks over time?
That one was 2 wire transactions.
Okay, 2 wire transactions. You get that, and what do you do? You go splurge? You go buy a house? Like, what do you do?
My dad splurged.
Okay.
My dad was changed. I don't know. For me, 2017 was when Vicky Virtual was really starting to pick up. We got our first 7-figure offer in 2017.
Okay.
And so, it was a nice sort of boost. But my call center company, Vicky Virtual, was really starting to take off at that point. And so I was much more focused on that, and I was sort of locked in.
Okay.
So there weren't too many things I really did.
Yeah.
We took a few trips.
Okay.
Part of the reason, too, that I wanted to sell was that in 2017, I had 5 projects.
Okay.
So my brain, that was like the crescendo of throwing darts at the wall. So my brain was melting, like
Yeah, I
you're
get
excited
it.
to tell, you're starting stuff, and it's like, I don't know what my limit is. So I learned in 2017 that was my limit. So it's nice to sell for that reason as well. At the time, we had a VA company as well. And we didn't sell that, but I was so frustrated that we just let it die.
Yeah.
In the sense that we didn't try to replace any client that we lost. And we finally lost our last client in like early 2020.
Oh, wow.
So we formally dissolved them. The painting company we started in...
So hold on. I want to make sure I got the timeline right. So you have the cleaning company, you have the virtual assistant company, you have a painting company. These are all at the same time?
Same time.
Okay, so these are all overlapping in that range, right? 2014, 2017, at least that range.
Yeah.
And these, okay. So
Well, no, not the whole time.
Okay.
But in 2017, all 5 were there.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. So it's a lot. Like this conversation will go to. But again, throwing darts at the wall.
Yeah.
So long story short, started the painting company, and we did pretty good in month 4. We were at 40,000 in revenue.
Oh, wow.
And but it was not a great partnership. So that got formally dissolved, and then I also had a photo booth company.
Okay.
So I teamed up with the SEO guy that ranked Companion Maids to first page, and he's in Canada. And at the time, he had a small agency. Now that's a multiple 7-figure agency. So he was a rock star. And I'm like, if I team up with this guy, he can freaking rank us on anything.
Any local service.
Anything. So it's like, that was our marketing for the most part. And, I just had to deal with fulfillment because it was Chicago-based where I am. And we ended up getting an unsolicited offer for that. And
wow. Yes. Okay.
So we sold that in August of 2017.
So this is turning into an acquisition conversation, which I didn't expect it to. But listen, I don't know anything about it. So we got the cleaning company, we got the painting company, and then we have the camera. Was it just photo shoots? Was it just a camera booth setup? Photo booth.
Yeah.
So the photo booths right now are normally at event spaces. You call, they come and bring the photo booth to you, type of thing.
Yeah. We typically charge about $200 an hour.
Okay.
We pay an attendant $15 an hour.
Yeah.
And the booth, 60% were wedding, another 40% were corporate outings.
Wow.
And random birthday parties and stuff like that. But so yeah, that was the premise. But it was the issue there was that the booths are prone to too many sort of petty things that can happen. It's too finicky. They're all running the vendor we went with to source our booth was using Windows XP, I think.
Oh, wow.
Or Windows. I can't remember what it is anymore. But there was way too many events, and I had to update policies and protocols surrounding this. I'm a Mac user for life now, by the way, partially because of that. We would be about to start a wedding. Yeah. And it would, force restart.
Oh, okay.
And the force, update. And that's on these slow computers, just meant for a photo booth. It's 40 minutes. So you got these people at the wedding, wanting to get the, and it's just a high pressure right now. at someone's wedding situation and you can't do anything because the freaking update is happening. You're hoping that the Wi-Fi is fast. Like, it's just ridiculous. So we got rid of that. That was a business that I was very happy to let go.
So you said you were excited to get out of that business. How did they find you? You said you pretty much you sold that business too.
Yeah, and that was actually crazy. So one of our attendants, somehow I got this like really high caliber attendant that was like a former grassroots organizer, and her and her partner at the time, her partner was trying to create stuff. They went and got like an FBA loan and bought it.
So they literally used you at an event and said, "Do you want to sell it?" Did they call you?
No, one of my attendants, one of the people working
that worked there.
Yeah.
Oh, I can see that.
Yeah. Yeah.
SBA, yeah, you got to know the ins and outs of an SBA. I mean, right now, everyone's talking about SBA loans. Back then, no one knew what the hell it was. So, shout outs to them. So they was like, "I just want to buy it."
Yeah, yeah, and I think the guy still running it.
Wow. So we exited the cleaning business. We're exiting the photo booth business, and then you said the painting business just kind of went to his.
Yeah, dissolve that. If I had nothing else going on right now, and I didn't know call center so well, painting.
Because it's a high ticket.
Oh, yeah, it's a higher ticket. Our average cleaning was $150. Average painting was $2,500. And the big thing about cleaning is everyone. Sorry for the viewers and listeners.
You're good. We talk about this, so.
The big thing about cleaning is that everyone, well, just about everyone, especially moms, know how they want their house to be clean.
Yeah.
So, you show up and it's like, you do this, use this product, and if you deviate from any of that crap, then
it's it.
Yeah.
I want to leave you a negative review, and
I mean, it's a nightmare if that happens. In painting, they listen to the experts. They're not, this is how you should paint it.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you suggest? And so the painting techs, or, the painting experts, your contractor, they are respected for what their discipline is. Cleaner, to a certain extent, it's like, but there's so much distrust as to whether or not someone's a good cleaner or not. And so, it's almost like you're going into a battle for every cleaning until you have a good recurring client. With painting, there are battles, but you're fighting them with your contractors because contract labor is hard to find. But as far as your client, paint the wall, don't drip everyone, they're happy.
Because with painting, most people never painted a day in their life.
Yeah.
But with cleaning, everyone at least cleaned their own home or their mother had them clean, so everyone feels like they're the expert. Yeah. If a painter came and did our house, if it looks good, I'm happy.
Exactly.
I've never painted, so I can't give you direction on that.
Yeah.
So did you run the painting business the same way you ran the cleaning business? Or
close to it, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I mean, it was like people don't just, pay up front for a painting.
Yeah.
Like you have to do estimates. But, you can create sort of an online form for booking an estimate. And then someone goes out there. But again, the tickets are high enough that you can afford that, right? And if there's an issue with the job, instead of arguing over $30, $40 in profit, you're arguing over $1,000 in profit.
Got it.
Which is, it's more worth it.
No, I like that. So did you use this is for me as well, because I'm thinking now my mind is going off. Did you use the SEO guy for the painting business as well?
No.
Okay. Search engine optimization, just in case, to help you rank on Google and stuff like that.
Yeah, we would have eventually done that, but we were only in business for 5 months.
Okay.
We were on Home Advisor.
Got it.
We just paid for leads on Home Advisor, and it was $100 a lead for the good one. But I think we were closing 28% of those leads, so spending maximum $400. Sorry, the leads. Anyway, it was very profitable to just very simply go on Home Advisor, get our jobs, make our profit, and go home.
Okay. So during this time, Vicky Virtual is still out there. So I want to talk about that because, again, the title of this episode was the Call Center Cash King. But we talked about acquisitions, which is fantastic. So this industry is, and I did a little bit of research, has a market size of $24 billion and is projected to grow to almost $500 billion by 2017, which is about, 2027, which is about 4 to 5 more years.
It has a market size right now worldwide of about 300 billion.
Okay.
And $500 billion by 2027. In the U.S., in the answering services space, specifically, which was Vicky Virtual's niche, it's about $3 billion, but it's grown at 7% a year, and the average company in the space is around 2.1 million, which is honestly insane.
Yeah.
Right? And so there's a few things that come up when people are considering this. One is it saturated? Well, what's the definition of a saturated industry, right? I feel like you're at saturation when the average size company is not quite enough money to live off of.
Yeah.
Right? Like you have to be better than average in order to survive. But the average company in this space, you're profiting $500,000 a year.
Okay.
Right? And so let's say livable is honestly, for an average family, on the higher end, it's probably about 100,000, right, on average. So you can have 5 times as many companies in the industry in the U.S. in this niche. I think there's about 1,400. So 5 times that, 7,000. You could have 7,000 additional functioning companies, and they'll be at that 100,000, assuming the industry's not growing, and it's growing at 7%. So I think it completely, like call centers. Not a lot of people talk about it, but everyone's aware of it, and it's great, and that's why after selling Vicky Virtual in 2019, I chilled out for 2 years, made some venture investments, and I still do, and I considered all kinds of different things. But now I'm back in the call center space.
No, I see that. So how does an average person, so me having a 9 to 5, how do I start something like a call center? And is there a difference between a call center and a call receptionist or a virtual assistant? Like how does that all work, or are they all different?
That's a great question. Call centers are an extremely broad category. The reason it's 300 billion worldwide is because every single aspect, every single type of call center is included in that number. The most approachable is likely an answering services company. And so I do have a course on this, because there's no other course on the planet on this, and I don't know why, because again, $300 billion and no one else is talking about it. But the way that essentially what you're doing is you're just getting a couple agents to answer phones for businesses that need their phones answered. That's it. Like there's all kinds of little details and stuff about what phone system to use and what type of agents you should hire, how much you can pay them. But the concept is simple.
Yeah.
As long as you understand in your heart that businesses need to have their phones answered, and you understand in your heart that people have the capacity to do that, that's half the battle.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised some of the students that come in and they're like, do people really need this? Yes. People, like you, whenever you call.
I got a stat here. It said 80% of Fortune 500 companies use or plan to use virtual agents or call reception centers. Yeah. 80% of Fortune 500 companies.
Yeah.
And probably more. The stat might be old. I just Googled it. But that's a lot of people. That's a lot of companies.
Yes, and that's the Fortune 500. They have the resources to do things internally. And yet the majority of them are, in addition to their internal resources, are outsourcing.
Yeah.
And so, there's opportunity there. But, 80% is only 400 companies, right? But there are, 28 million businesses in the U.S., and very few of them are like these coaching guru businesses, or that clearly they don't answer the phone. Most of them, most of them are local service businesses or attorneys or CPA firms, and again, we had about 1,300 clients when we sold. 40% of our clients were solo attorneys.
Oh wow!
Right, you guys were clients for
Yeah.
a bit, and I still wish we did a slightly better job with you guys.
And the funny thing is, even back then, when we tell our students all the time, like, if you call local service businesses, number one, they're probably not answering the phone because they're doing the job. They're out doing the painting, they're out doing the home cleaning, they're out doing the car washes. So they need someone to answer the phones. That's the simple. That's why I feel like this industry is so underrated, because that's the first thing we did. We was like, yo, we have a 9 to 5. We can't run out the office to answer our phones all day. We hired your team. That should be the first thing a person, as an entrepreneur, that you're thinking about doing.
Yeah, the most frequent client we had with Vicky Virtual were people that were like in their first month of running their business.
Yeah.
Because again, we started serving cleaning companies. And again, there's a lot of cleaning company owners that you brought into the fold that they still have their 9 to 5 when they're getting themselves together. So yeah, it's a utility. And whenever you can establish yourself as a utility, that's absolutely essential to the overall function of the clients, the companies you're serving.
Yeah.
You're in a great spot. So again, I could spend some time, I guess, going into some details, but the simple thing you need to know is you hire an agent that can be nice on the phone. You're following some pretty simple policies and I guess agreeing on what you're going to do for your client, and keeping consistent with that. And then you're finding people that don't already have someone answering the phone for them that clearly have the need, and that's it.
Yeah, that's one of the challenges we have. The first thing you mentioned was finding someone nice to answer the phones. We literally had this issue where one of our agents, if you guys didn't know, we own a call center as well, Ziggy Virtual, Ziggy VA, that we acquired from some people who ran cleaning businesses as well. And we hired people, we got rid of people, but they literally were arguing with a client over the phone. And I saw this tweet today, and it literally said, customer service agents should be able to fight with one customer a day. Because I worked in the call center industry. I managed a team at my 9 to 5 where they were working with hedge funds, private equities, and these guys were straight assholes. They like, listen, I am losing money. Cleaning business, all right, but I am losing money. So I had some experiences where I was literally threatened with a client. The client was older, but I was threatened. He was like, if you don't get this up and running, I'm literally going to shoot you. Like, physically, I have a gun in my office, I'm going to shoot you. And I'm like, you're telling a black man in a majority white company in a majority white industry that you're going to shoot him. That's what I'm saying in my mind. But I was like, hey, listen, I'm just trying to solve your problem. I have decent customer service skills. I kind of let it go. But that's a challenge right now, finding people who are competent enough to just stay calm and answer phone calls. So where do you find people who are halfway decent?
Well, there are two sides to that. One, we didn't deal with situations like that.
Yeah.
And the reason we didn't is because our clients' companies did not have those types of situations. That's one. And two, with Vicky Virtual, we weren't a hardcore customer service solution. We were merely a receptionist company. And so it's not as ingrained as like customer service that's like troubleshooting real issues, technical stuff. That's when things get a bit more complicated. It's just harder. So I guess I should back up a bit. With a virtual receptionist company, the main functions are answering the phone, transferring calls, one-off outbound calls, such as, hey, some attorneys like, hey, can you call this the local court and see if they received my fax regarding this case. We call them and confirm they received the fax. Very simple surface level things. And if there's an escalation, like some type of complaint, we would then forward that to the appropriate person.
Got it.
And so because of that, the job function itself remarkably different from traditional customer service role. Traditional customer service roles are one of the highest sort of turnover position in any industry anywhere.
Yeah.
And so the dynamic of that made our lives a lot easier. When I sold, we had 130 agents. 130 agents. And of the roughly 250 we hired, of course, we let go of people, but we only had 3 people ever quit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in almost 5 years.
Is it because you're a great boss or they just love their jobs?
But, again, one of the largest things is that the job wasn't that emotionally taxing. So that's one, making sure that the clients that you have, and again, if you're truly in the virtual receptionist answering service sort of niche, that's what happened. Like, you're not going deep enough for it to be difficult for an agent. 1, 2, there needs to be some level of, and not, I know you don't have these issues, but just in general to keep in mind, you have to be willing to say, hey, the moment one of your clients or a caller is berating or being an asshole, you're allowed to hang up.
Yeah.
And we can tell our client that we hung up for this reason, the call's recorded. And so the agent is empowered to get out of a situation that is going to make them stressed out and mentally drained and ruin their day. So because of that, they feel protected and, they can just work their job and not take terrible punishment and still have to work after that.
That's really helpful. I need to go back, listen to this conversation, and talk to my team about this, because I remember it's so many skills that you could take from your 9 to 5 and implement entrepreneurship. Because I was a director. I told my team, if someone's threatening you on the phone, because of my experience when I was at the lower level, you can hang up. And I told the CEO, like, listen, we're gonna hang up on people who are threatening, who are dismissive, who are like overly arrogant on the phone, especially when. Yeah, we've dealt with some situations. So going back and taking that skill set and reminding my team, like, all right, you guys have the power to do this. Sometimes you may not feel empowered. So that's me as a CEO and as an entrepreneur reminding myself, all right, let me give my team that empowerment. That's the purpose you go into these businesses, so that you can have that power to implement these things. Yeah. So that's very important.
Absolutely. One of the big things is, you're right. You want to make it so that your workers never have this anxiety about having to show up for the next shift. If they are starting to dread the next day, they're gone. And if they're not gone, they're not trying, because they're just existing to make their money. And as soon as they find something else, they're gone.
Okay. So we mentioned the customer service side of things. The client side, you said is it normally just cold calling to get new clients, or was there a system?
So what we did, I did a few weeks of cold calling, and the first one was one of the most profitable cold calls ever, because big client acquisition. And hilariously, our first client with Vicky Virtual bought Vicky Virtual.
So the first cold call bought the cleaning company, and the first cold call for Vicky bought...
No. The first cold call. So the day we launched, we had 5 clients, because we sort of did a pre-launch. We had like 40 people on the list, and we got like 11 clients from that over the course of a few weeks. But day 1, we got 5 signups, and the very first signup.
Okay.
Yeah, the very first signup. It was 11 minutes after we sent the email. We signed up. 5 years later, bought the company.
See, Don is a very low-key entrepreneur. I know you see us and you think we're big. Like, listen, Don was doing this for years before. Like, it's about pre-launch strategies, right? This is 2014, 2017. We're in 2023, and people are just now learning about pre-launch strategies. You've been doing this for a while.
I can't believe we're in 2023.
The strategies that people are teaching and doing today, you've been doing this for quite some time, which is absolutely amazing. This is why we got to get you on more outlets, man. This is good stuff. So I know we're talking about the call center stuff, and I do want to get into your course. What's the name of it?
Call Center Cash.
Call Center Cash. So give me a testimonial from one of the students when people ask, like, how well do your students do? Give me a testimonial that stands out to you.
Well, 2 have already hit 100,000 a month mark.
Oh, wow.
in revenue. Margins are good. The reality is that, again, the ceiling's high, and you're able to create something that has a tremendous amount of scalability, because you're not limited really much in any way. Like, we were sort of talking about the U.S. market, but frankly, we had clients all over the world. Of course, the lion's share were in the U.S. and Canada because of our pricing structure and because we existed in that regard. But again, businesses all over the world, a majority of businesses, like established, incorporated businesses with operations, a majority of them need someone answering the phone.
Yeah.
And you guys really need to internalize that. Like, I'm not wrong about this. A majority of every single established, incorporated company needs someone answering the phone. A majority. And so once you recognize that, you realize the market is giant, like when you really internalize that. And so you're not thinking about what percentage of the market do I need to land. We had, for a personal person like me, as far as I'm concerned, sort of a giant company, right? But it was a tiny speck of a company in reality at $4 million. That's the first time I've ever said it.
Oh, wow. Okay. No, that's I mean, that helps people because, like I said, this is a new industry to me, and I knew about it. I knew about it when you.
That is the first time I've ever said that. So many people, you didn't even ask.
I didn't want to. Like, I try not to dive into numbers too much, but I do appreciate you sharing. Can we take a second and just recognize that? I appreciate you. I appreciate the transparency, and I know we're talking about the actual course itself. But the call center industry itself, who is it not for that you feel? Have you ever come across someone and you're like, this is not for you? Like, you should not think about this.
Not this type of this company. I think that entrepreneurship isn't for everyone.
Who is it not for?
You know, actually a good example. You know what? Okay. There's a large cohort of people that entrepreneurship is just not for them.
Yep.
And there's a smaller but probably significant cohort of people that shouldn't have employees. Like, they shouldn't run companies with employees. And my original partner with Vicky Virtual falls into that second category. He cannot function in a company with employees, managing people. And so now he's got a one-man agency doing great in that regard, but he was incredibly stressed out. Whereas I was happy as a clam. Like, we were growing. And I forgot to tell you. So we started off with cold calling, and concurrently and from the beginning and even before we launched, we had a focus on content marketing. And so content marketing landed us the majority of our clients. From start to acquisition, about 70% of our inbound clients were from content marketing.
Okay.
And, you know, we were running ads at that point, and at that point, we had a lot of avenues. So what this type of company is not for people that don't want to manage people at all, and people that don't want to dive headfirst eventually into being an entrepreneur. Now, from the perspective of someone that has a day job and is trying to, you know, get something going, then transition into this, there are a lot of students of mine that, you know, get to a 30 to 50,000 a month in revenue mark that still have a day job.
Okay.
And so at that point, they're making money. Like, if they have a job, especially a decent one, if they're still holding on to it, and they're, you know, running the company at that point, then they can leave. I think if you're doing 500,000, you should be bringing in at least 150, if not 200. And so it's possible to do it. If you're not answering the phones yourself, then you need a bit more startup capital. And so depending on how aggressive you are, $5,000 to $10,000.
Okay.
Which, you know, it's obviously more than cleaning. But if you answer the phone yourself, then theoretically you could, you know, be the first agent. You're just paying for the phone system, you're paying for the website. Now, what a lot of my students have done, and we sort of created this for this reason, there are also some that have like pretty much no money, and no time. And what happens a decent amount is white labeling. Now, should I explain white labeling?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So Costco, if you guys, everybody knows Costco, I'm assuming, they have an in-house brand called Kirkland.
So Costco has the Kirkland brand.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got the paper towels. We got a lot of stuff from Kirkland. Yep.
Yeah. And so Costco doesn't manufacture those products. They there's a generic manufacturer, and then Costco will slap their Kirkland branded product on it, and they can market it at their own thing, even though they didn't manufacture it.
Okay.
And so the labeling, the Kirkland branding labeling, that is white labeling. You're taking a white space, putting your label on it, white labeling.
Okay.
Right? And so essentially what it is that you're able to market it as your own, but you're not personally doing the fulfillment of it.
Okay.
Creating it. And so on the call center side, that translates to you're not hiring the agent, you're not taking the call, you're not paying for the phone system. Someone else is doing that, some other call center is handling fulfillment.
Okay.
But you market and you land the clients and you charge them what you charge them. The white label fulfillment partner charges you what they charge you, and whatever you're charging above that, that's your operating profit margin, right, or growth margin. And so I had worked out a deal with my old company, Vicky Virtual, to white label for some of my students that were in that situation, didn't have money, didn't have time. Now, some of my students are doing well enough that we just white label through some of them. So if someone wants the white label, I just refer to one of our tribe members.
Is that more for people who might have more disposable income, just white label it, outsource it, or is that for some?
This is when you don't have money.
When you don't have the money, you white label it. Okay.
If you can't afford to hire an agent, if you can't afford to, pay for a phone system.
So you just do the marketing and
just a website, marketing, land.
Got it. Okay, understood.
Yeah.
I understand.
If you do have money, hire an agent. Phone system usually around $700 a month. Starts off with 3 agents, and then going from there is about $250 per agent per month. They're extremely robust. We're not talking about Google Voice or even Ring Central or something. It's extremely robust. And when I moved away from that is when I had problems. And that's what Anthony experienced.
Listen, that was so long ago. He's talking about we used their platform when we were just starting our cleaning business. We didn't know much about the cleaning industry, and we didn't know how to manage our calls. So every call that was missed, I was upset. And now I'm experiencing that as I own a virtual assistant company. And I was like, now when we miss calls, like we get so many calls, I don't really care about one call. But when you first start, every call is just
every single call.
So I understand. I apologize for. I understand it now because we get so many calls. Like one is missed. Unless it's a higher percentage of calls that's missed. 1, 2, even 5 calls, like whatever. I don't even care. But I understand as a new entry level cleaning business owner how crucial those initial calls could be.
Yeah.
And I apologize to our students who was like, "You guys are missing calls," because I get it now.
Well, the big thing is, and I know we're sort of going all over the place here, but I want to say this because this is the only thing that's, other than client generation, like one of the toughest things in most businesses is getting clients. But in terms of fulfillment, the toughest thing, or one of the easiest things, depends on what phone system you're using. And so if you have a phone system that's great, when we were using 5.9, what we had when you first signed up, we were missing on average 5 to 10% of calls, which is the industry. It's actually considered the premium standard, whereas an answering service is around 20%, like a traditional crappy answering service. So we were 5 to 10%. If we're in that range, no one complaining. When you go above 10%, we start to hear something. If you're below 5%, you've actually overhired and you're spending too much on labor. Because you're going to get 2 to 3%, 4% wrong number, misdials, robots that aren't functioning correctly, When we switched, Rohan has one of my favorite sort of one-line statements ever, which is don't trip over dollars to save pennies. And so we tried to save some pennies, and it didn't make any sense because we were profitable. And the day we switched, day one, we were missing 80%.
Ooh.
Yeah. And by day 2, it was 50%.
Yeah.
By day 3, it was 40%. So everybody was going crazy. We had a couple hundred clients at that point. Trying to get you switched to a different team, potentially. There were a lot of tough conversation. So essentially what happened was we went from about 38% net to negative 5% in a month.
Wow.
Because we were missing so many calls, and that meant the actual volume that we were serving and therefore charging for also went down. So we only ended up losing, we came out of that in 3 months, did switch back. It was about 3 months, and we only ended up losing about 5% of our clients. But those 3 months, the revenue was just, it went down that much. So the only thing that can be a potential disaster in this business is choosing the wrong phone system. But outside of that, you have the tools, you have the agents, you have the processes, and, it can be pretty autopilot at that point.
So as we get to the wrap up, I want to know what is next for you going into this new year. What are you excited about?
Yeah, I'm not sure if you know this, but a few months ago, again, I sold the company, Vicky Virtual specifically, in October 2019. Just decided to chill off for like 2.5 years. The only thing I did was spend one intensive month, again, because of Rohan. He launched his thing, did $250,000 in the first month with no ads because he has such a big audience. I'm like, and then he bought that car exclusively with stuff
Nice
like,
car.
I'll just create this. I looked into it. There was nothing on this, so I'm like, blue ocean opportunity. So I spent 1 month creating a course in January 2020. But, just say it and forget it almost. I really don't put a whole lot of effort into my course. So chilled out for about 2.5 months. And this year, finally, I've been getting approached to work on stuff. I eventually, I'm going to leave out the other two. The company that I'm going forward with is a call center for the cannabis industry. I'm not sure if you already knew that.
I think you mentioned a little bit.
Okay. And so the nice thing is that there's not a lot of companies in this space, and it's sort of more difficult to break into it. But again, it's a sort of a niche that instead of with Vicky Virtual, where we focused on just serving anyone, initially we did start off in a niche, which was cleaning companies, but our overall goal from the beginning was to serve everybody, and that's what we did. In this regard, we're going full throttle, long term, focused on one niche, and so I'm extremely excited about it. I raised money. I raised $155,000 in 8 days.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, people just love cannabis.
New York City just opened their first live cannabis shop too. I think last week or 2 weeks ago.
Who did?
New York City.
Oh, yeah.
New York, maybe city or state, but they opened the first one in New York City.
P. Diddy is getting in.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and we have some leads on that, I think.
Okay.
So
is that just solely answering calls, customer support for the cannabis industry?
Customer and sales support.
Okay.
So, just handling all aspects of different interaction, different channels. So not just call, but also like SMS even, live chat, email correspondence, social media messaging, and actually review management as well. And so in this case, we are delving into the customer service segment. However, thankfully, this particular niche isn't going to lead our agents down this hellhole of, oh my God, I'm so upset, my weed.
I mean, someone could have like a negative reaction or something like that.
Yes.
But I don't think outside of that, you probably know what type of weed that works for you. So.
And even when that's the case, we're pushing those calls off to the vendor.
Yeah,
to whoever
transfer you over.
Yeah. So, in this case, I got an advisory board put together. And it's the first time that I've personally taken an investment for something that I'm the sole founder for. So my goal is to really blow that up. And that's it. What I learned from my past experiences is two things. One, the riches earn the niches. Two, if you find yourself good at something and there's something that works and other people aren't going crazy on it, it's okay to go back into it and do it. And then three, rather than having a bunch of different product that sort of project that can sort of take away your focus and energy, it is better in general to focus on one thing. So I have the course, but I'm telling you guys right now, feel free to sign up for it. I've gotten 3 returns ever for my course. It's very good. But I answer questions all the time, but I'm not someone that's like, going to be there doing lives all the time. I'm telling you guys that.
So what's the link for the course so that they could go find it?
Yeah, so it's callcentercash.com.
Call Center Cash. And we'll make sure we link that too.
I'll create. So callcentercash.com/Hartzog.
Okay.
Hartzogs with an S.
We'll put that link in the show notes so that you guys have it.
30% off.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm doing that right now. 30% off. Just let me know when this launches, and I'll have that link there. But, again, it's a great course. And then also, the last thing I wanted to mention, that's the final thing I'm working on, is a lot of people, they're sort of not sure who they want to hire. And just like you, there's a lot of people that are very open or want to source people overseas. Mm-hmm. And so we do have a staffing company with one of my tribe members, my student, where we source from Eastern Europe, actually. So if someone's looking for, like, the ready to launch, they don't know who to hire, we can source agents from Eastern Europe, Bosnia, Croatia, Serbia, Montenegro, to serve in that capacity. And, it's been pretty useful.
So if someone is at their job, they have a 9-to-5, and they're looking to start a call center business or a cleaning business, and they want to hire an agent, you would find that if they can't afford, let's say they can't afford like a full agency, you would specifically hire an agent that works for them directly?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good. As many as they need. It's flat $1,400 a month for a full-time agent. And everyone's college educated. English is fantastic. There's no, there's a free 7-day trial of a person. There's no initiation fee or anything. And we just keep it really simple.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah. So that's what I'm working on. Staffing, course, call Canna.
That's it. We appreciate Don being here. I got my last question for you because everything we spoke about was you, especially when you first started, was trying to figure out what worked for you. And I know right now we're in a hustle age where you gotta have all these hustles to figure it out. But it sounds like for you, when everything you started, you're thinking long term. You're thinking, all right, if I start this, how long can I go? How far can I go? It's not like I'm just going to do it for today or doing it tomorrow. So my question for you is, what does the phrase more than a side hustle mean to you?
Well, for me, to this day, I don't actually, I don't know. I still don't know how I feel about the word entrepreneurship. I more so think of myself as just a business owner, someone that just does businesses. And the reason for this, I'm not sure if I'm very passionate about businesses, but I am passionate about the life that these business projects are vehicles for, right? And so I've thought about, like, sort of in an abstract way what I wanted my life to be like, and I was finally able to put it into one sentence. Inside the last 3 years, I want to have complete control of my time and enough money to enjoy it. That's it. And so, thankfully, now I have that. This current company is about sort of a legacy creation potential. And so when I think about entrepreneurship, I don't think about it in terms of, how can I hustle into the next thing and just be a hustler and dominate and do all kinds of crazy stuff. I just wanted something to enable me to independently decide, I want to live life on my terms. And people say it all the time, but that's literally all it is. And so, looking for opportunities that honestly a much easier, simple, direct, straightforward path to that. Those are the things that excite me. And that's why I like what you're doing. I think you have a lot of the same mindset in that regard. You go for the simple, straightforward, battle-tested stuff that already exists, as opposed to trying to have some novel, amazing idea and blowing up.
No, you can't end it no better than that. That's another episode of the Hartzog Hustle podcast. Everything about Don, the course, everything he's doing, also the cannabis industry and the call center for that will be in the show notes. Appreciate you being here. That's it.
This has been an episode of the Hartzog Hustle podcast. We hope you enjoyed. Be sure to rate and review this podcast on your favorite listening platform. And follow Anthony and Janilka on Instagram at The Hartrimony. That's TheHartrimony. Keep hustling, baby. Keep hustling, baby.
Get that money. Get that money.